All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Growth Genesis podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Paul, and I've got Dan with me. In today's episode, which I believe is episode 8, we're going to be talking about tech trends and innovation. So I
Mm.
think we'll kick this off with you, Dan.
Yeah.
Let's discuss the role of technology in modern businesses. What are your thoughts on that?
Um. Okay. I think we can go as deep or as kind of shallow as we want. A lot of people with technology. Uh. I think one thing to just kind of get off. This I heard from a church sermon years ago, but technology is anything that helps the human the like if you thought of it as like almost like a video game or something else, like it helps you as a person be more productive with time, or it's like it's increases efficiency as a person. So I think with that kind of out of the way, the technology, like the definition of it, is to enhance effectiveness and efficiency. I think kind of should put in your mind of how important that is in business. Um,
Yeah.
and so the thing is, like, right now, I'm currently in big ticket sales, which all of my stuff that I do is through technology.
Yeah.
Um, Everything that all the ways that I reach out to people is through various forms of social media or contact groups. All the ways that I register and write down clients, all the different ways that I look for ambassadors, what else, whatever have you, is by definition is through the use of modern day technology,
Yeah.
i.e., computers, whatnot. Um, so I think it's super important that in a lot of people like Alex Ramosi or whoever else have said that it's adapt or die with a lot of these different various forms of with business. If you're looking to scale, that is. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's not ruling out every possibility, because I know that there's some places like when I was out in Japan, there's some people who run like there's a guy, his name's Nakai, he works on cars.
Mhm.
And he doesn't do social media or anything. You just have to kind of hear through other people or other people's social media accounts, not his own official one. And he builds custom Porsches. They're called RWBs.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
about to say, is that the guy who builds the RWBs?
Yeah. And they're,
Yep.
I mean, some of the best looking, best performing, gorgeous Porsches that I've ever seen. And he does it all without that. So it's not necessarily saying if you don't, if you're not on the latest trend of AI, then you're gonna die, you know, with your business
Yeah.
and stuff. Because I think still the skills that you have will outperform almost anything in business. But
Right.
um, with that being said, uh, yeah, technology has a huge advantage. The fact that OpenAI has come out with a recent software that is going to make things look almost completely lifelike in video is
Oh,
going to,
Sora?
yeah,
Yeah.
Sora, is going to change, I think, the course of how movies, production, or even business and filming ads is all going to be done, because it's going to remove so much of the process. Who knows
Yeah.
what kind of toll that's going to take on society as a whole? We don't really know that yet, because it's kind of one of those things you just have to wait and see. But I think um, my personal opinion, and I think it's just much better to kind of be in the now and with the
Mhm.
trends. But I don't think it's also super beneficiary to just hop all on one trend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was in the mall the other day, and when people would say when you eat like good food, they're like, "This is bussin'," like
Yeah. Throw back to that.
yeah, that was like 2 years ago, and it's just totally out of style now. And there's this place called Bussin' Chicken, which it's like that was maybe the hype thing for like a year or so, but then when that becomes, your business image is based on a slang term that goes out of style in 2 years, it's not probably the most efficient way to do that. And I think also these people who just like whenever something just like immediately tails in the wind and they just get directed off course. Like sometimes that would be me. Like I just go online and I'd start like, what's the new business method? What's the new this, new this, new that? And never staying on track for one thing, I think is
Yeah.
also not a very good idea because a lot of people want to base their business around the current technology. And I think you should use your business that you're passionate or wanting to build and then use technology around that. I think personally, that's what I've seen, at least for myself, be a little bit more productive instead of just chasing whatever guru says what's the next big thing. And I think just saying, what's one thing I want to do right now? How can I get there using the technology that's already out or that's being innovated right now? How can I grow that instead of how can I start from scratch on every new open AI version or whatnot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And like for me at least, okay, so I'm in the photography industry, and a big part of my business that I'm working on right now is starting to delve into the education, um, into the education space and teaching, like the skills of and the fundamentals of photography. And so I'm working on projects like ebooks and courses and stuff like that. And so, like, yeah, I am not opposed to the use of AI in any stretch of the imagination. I'm using it, but I'm not using it to generate the information. I already know what it is I want to teach. I'm using AI to help me put it together faster, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like I'm not gonna go like, use AI to build a Shopify store and start selling clothes because that's not what I'm doing. Like that's not my it's like, "Oh, this works really really well." Okay, cool, but that would be starting a whole other business. And why would I do that when I could instead just put that time, those resources that and the same productivity that those tools allow me in the same direction that I'm already going, Like using it to put together books and teaching information and whatnot faster. Um, or for like user research and stuff like that instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna go build a Shopify store, oh, I'm gonna go build a drop shipping thing, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go offer digital marketing and SEO via AI and all that sort of stuff. Like, why? That's not what I do as a business. And so putting time and effort into that direction is just it's stupid. It's like Alex Hormozi's example of um of trying to fill a whole bunch of different cups all at once, and so you only get a little bit in each cup. Whereas if you go all in on one thing, then you fill that all the way up, and then it overflows, and then you put the excess in all these other things. So one thing is really successful, and then you use that success to build other things instead of trying to build them all at once when nothing's actually succeeded yet.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, that's my soapbox.
Yeah, I think that's especially for the younger generation who just constantly on social media hears about the next big thing and just wants to like move in on whatever's new because it's working out for some people is it's good and a bad thing. There's people who moved on Bitcoin because it was new and they made millions or billions of dollars, which is very true. And I think what I would say, I mean, I might eat my words in a couple of years from now, but what I would think is focus on a business that you want to build, use the technology and resources you have around you to grow it in an efficient way, and then invest that whatever sort of income that you have to kind of just throw around, invest that in the new technology. I think would be the smart move because when Bitcoin came out, yeah, sure, there's people going out and building other forms of what do you call that,
Of cryptocurrency.
cryptocurrencies. But I think it was also a lot of people who like, let's say, a big investor at the time. He's probably focusing on his own little business here, but he's taken all of his other money and well, he's taken some of his money and invested it into Bitcoin because he sees the potential growth. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of a different way to look at it. So once you're in that, I feel like once you're in that area, which I'm sure not, I'm not in that financial obligation right now that I can just start throwing money in different investments. But I think,
Me neither.
yeah, but I think with that in mind, you can invest in things that you see growth in, but it's also important to invest more so of your time and energy into something that you know works and that you can just kind of build and grow using the technology that's available. I think is a huge um, way of that, because technology trends are gonna come and go. Like just like how the first cell phone came out, and it's totally pointless and useless now. If your whole business, I mean, if your whole business was on the latest BlackBerry phone that came out in 2012, right now
Yeah,
you don't have any business.
yeah, you're gone now.
Yeah, it's just I think you
Except like your only customers are like the four dads on planet Earth that still use BlackBerry.
yeah, and um yeah, I think it's just important to when you're if this is just going back to when you're initially starting a business or initially starting your entrepreneurial journey, is looking at how foolproof it is for the future.
Yeah,
If it's just gonna be a a, a tumbleweed in the wind, like bussing chicken out in the mall, it's is it really worth putting all your eggs in that basket then, or is it better just to kind of invest in it while it's still here? You know what I mean? I think
yeah,
I think that's what is going to prove to be more important. And this is all just speculation because I'm not going out and investing all this, and neither am I also going out and trying every different new business model that comes out, because you could have success. That is very true. That's a very true thing, that you could have success with a brand new business model. But I think personally for me, having a passion that I'm into, like for right now, which is in sales, I'm kind of passionate about sales. I really like learning about it. I like growing it. I like seeing how to get different clients and talk to people. I think is one thing that I'm very passionate about at the moment. So I think what makes sense for me is just to grow it using technology instead of
yeah,
just ditching it, because you can make uh faceless YouTube videos and make thousands of dollars a month. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And also there's just a I feel like there's a huge like people who are just like on that train to just try everything out, and once something just launches, it immediately becomes kind of just overthrown. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It becomes so such a thick solution of people that are just constantly trying that whatever comes out that's new, and I feel like it's very hard to break unless you're very early. Because drop shipping kind of exploded in 2016. So if you were drop shipping in 2016, you made a lot of money. But today, I don't think people are making nearly as much as they were back then, because it's just been so filled with people. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my little soapbox. But I by no means am I this any advice. But this is what I've seen personally, is that I felt a lot more clarity in my mind by just focusing on what do I want to grow, and how can I use technology to grow it. Those two things alone.
yeah,
I think that has proved to me to be a little bit better, because then it's like, oh, I can use ChatGPT to write out a business biography for my Facebook website using technology, super simple to do, and and then I just fine tune it a little bit so I can make it kind of humanized. I think is
yeah.
would save me time instead of sitting there with a pen and paper in hand and writing it out and trying to figure out what it is. So, yeah, that's what I've got to say.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And there's this idea that like, okay, back to the Bitcoin thing for a split second because I want to use it to illustrate a point. Even the people who made millions of dollars off of Bitcoin did the same thing of finding a thing, going all in on the thing, sticking with that thing until they were successful, and then using what they made from their success in other things. They weren't like they weren't splashing things around in like 18 different cups being like one of these better work. Yeah, like they did their research, they
Hmm.
found something, they stuck with that thing, and once they were successful, then they took their success and started taking resources that they had made and pushed it into other things. um and honestly, that's how you do it. I mean, I'm not a professional at doing that at all. I used to be the, hop around on all the different trains and,
Hmm.
all the different business ideas and, oh, what's the next greatest thing? That was me for a long time, up until recently. And then I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere unless I full send on one thing. And then once I do that and have success, then I can start doing other things. like the more businesses you try and tackle all at once, the less successful you're going to be in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a fact.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. Um, so
What are you, what are your thoughts then on like any insights that you have on staying like innovative and tech savvy, having benefited your ventures? I know you mentioned using like ChatGPT to do things like write bios for like your social media pages and websites and stuff like that. But
mhm,
there's a lot more. There's a lot more to not
technology.
just like not just AI, but
Yeah.
technology as a as a means, as a tool in business than just that.
Okay. I can. Yeah. I can definitely go on and on about this. One of them being Canva or any other form of image generation softwares have.
Canva is goaded.
Yeah, it's super easy to use. I've used it on ads. I've used it on profile pictures. I've used it on banners for different things. A lot of my business is built on the social media and outreach to people. So it's been a
Mhm.
very good way to kind of find a style that I want, stick with it, and build on it.
Do you have the Canva Pro or Plus or whatever it's called?
I actually don't. So you can do all this for free. I mean, if you have Canva Plus, I bet you there's a lot more you can do. And I have a friend who's kind of he actually designed my logo for Miranda Consulting. Um, and if you ever see mirandaconsulting.com, that's my consulting website. If you see the logo there, my friend I actually paid out my friend to do that for me to design the logo.
Goes
But
back to networking, folks.
yeah, goes back to networking like last episode. Um, with that with that being said, if you're into this is just kind of a little like I like having these little business ideas, just kind of popping them in there. If you're a person who's good with Photoshop or making logos, you can make a lot of money posting different um, stuff on Etsy, Canva, whatever else for or Fiverr, whatnot, Upwork to design logos for people, and um, just do it as a freelance thing. Like you
Yeah,
don't have to
exactly.
sign with one particular company, which I think a lot of people try to do, because I think uh, I actually I'm not going to say that just because I don't have any experience in that field whatsoever. But I think that's a cool, different way. Like if you're a person who likes to do a variety of different things that doesn't want to be signed with one company, I think that would be a fun way to kind of test your skills is to go out on Fiverr and build a lot of different people's um, logos. Because my friend did it in an afternoon, and it looks great. So
Yeah,
and
there's like not just in graphic design, but in a whole lot of different fields. Um, the idea of going out and doing something as a freelance thing is really, really good because yeah, a lot of people try and get signed on with one company, and honestly, that's kind of a big disadvantage. Like, okay, cool, I'm signed on with this one company. They're paying me $5,000 a month, and there's an exclusivity agreement, so I work with them and only them, and they're paying me $5,000 a month. Obviously, I'm just like inventing numbers, um, but it's like, okay, but why would you put yourself in a contract and restrict yourself to only working with one client who's paying you $5,000 a month when you could be doing this freelance and be working for four different companies that are all paying you $5,000 a month, and all of a sudden you're working probably the same amount of time, to be perfectly honest, if you're doing it right and you're efficient, but you're making 20K a month instead of 5.
yeah,
Like why are people like, oh, I want to get signed on by this one company and I don't really care about anything else? Like you're literally putting a cap on the amount of money you can make.
that is true.
Yeah, anyway.
Back those are some ways.
Rabbit trail, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Um, with other forms of technology that I've used, I mean, just the invention of social media and using stuff like Zoom and whatnot has been awesome for contacting people and staying in contact and with outreach and stuff like that. Um, Social media is a total blessing and a curse because no more is it really, I would say, social media. It's a lot more of just constant information, because really a lot of people are using social media for social stuff anymore. They're just using it to watch short form content,
Exactly.
which
Social media has become a disease at this point.
yeah. But if you are one of those people, the very few people who are like still using it for social media, I mean, like using Instagram for Instagram, and or just messaging people through there or doing outreach through there, then I applaud you, and that's a very good way that you can use technology to grow, scale, network, etc., and ways that I've seen growth as well. So,
Yeah.
how about you, Paul? What is some ways that you've noticed technology kind of benefit you in a business?
Well, I've often found that like technology's been very beneficial for me in simply just being efficient. Like I suck at staying focused. I suck at staying focused on things. Um and so
Mm-hmm.
if I can find, like pieces of technology that help me stay focused in what I'm doing, or help me in terms of like efficiency and getting my work done faster, I will 100% do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I use a lot of the new, like a lot of the new AI tools in Photoshop. I don't necessarily use them to add things to my work, that my photo work that weren't there. Um, but they're great for like, removing blemishes, removing like people that got in your shot that you're like, really, are you serious? And a lot of those tools now are so good and so fast that like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, purists that are like, if the stuff was in your photo when you took it, like you shouldn't take it out. And I'm like, no, no, no. I have an idea in my head and I know exactly what I'm going for. And using these new tools helps me get the same result much, much, much faster. And so I spend less time working on each thing so I can get more done in a day.
Yeah.
And especially if you're like me and you have a hard time staying focused, the dopamine of getting something done, like that woo hit
Yeah.
from getting something done, is huge, because that's how I, for lack of a better term, that is kind of the one of the driving motivations to continue getting things done, is I like that feeling. And so like using technology, like a lot of the crazy stuff in Photoshop, um using things like when I'm making videos and I need to do captions, using things like using DaVinci Resolve's like AI captions is absolutely goaded. Um, and so I found myself using things like that, or like using Chat GPT to to help me put together sections of my ebook that I'm working on much faster, where I can feed it a bunch of information that I've already written out and be like, hey, can you help me summarize this?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it does, and I'm like, oh, that's great. So then I take that and I tweak it to make it sound more like me, more in my voice and the way that I
Mm-hmm.
write and produce content. But it didn't take me an hour to sift through the whole thing of content and make sure it was as concise as it could be. It took me maybe 15 minutes instead. So using tools like that to save time, um, has been very, very helpful. And I'm not using it to the extent that I could be. I know I'm not. Um, it's just one of those things where, like, I'm at a point now with technology where I'm comfortable in the process that I have, and it's working well enough for me that, like, if I come across a roadblock where I need to be able to do things much faster, then I will take the time to look into stuff and learn it and implement it, and add that to my tool belt of like processes and skills. But right now I'm pretty comfortable with it and it's working really well.
Yeah. It's it should always just be helping you stay a step ahead. I truly believe that. So it's
Hmm.
it's cool to hear someone who's in the photography business who's not like, oh, AI's coming out, my business is just gonna be destroyed. My everything's gonna be gone. Um, with that whole AI stuff, it's cool to kind of hear that perspective.
Yeah. Like AI is not going to destroy your business if you use it to help your business.
Yeah.
But if you don't use it in your business, it will destroy your business because someone else will use it to do the thing that you're doing already faster.
Mhm.
But if you take it and you figure it out and you learn how to use it to benefit the business you're already doing, then you are ahead of the person who could potentially, quote unquote, steal your job
Mm-hmm.
with AI, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Um, yeah, I'm wondering, is there any major other pieces of technology that we should really talk
Talk about. Um, I'm sure there probably is, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's just so much, and it's just so incorporated in today's society that it's kind of very hard to pinpoint just one or two. Um, so yeah, with that being said, we want to thank you guys in for listening to the eighth episode of Growth Genesis podcast. Any final words, Paul?
Yeah, not off the top of my head, other than adapt or die is not as bleak as you think it is. I know it sounds intense, but if you think about it in the direction of like, specifically AI
Mm-hmm.
as an example, if you think about it from the standpoint of, okay, there's this new technology out, and instead of freaking out about it, I'm going to use it to help my current business.
Mm-hmm.
That's what like that's what adapt means. Adapt doesn't mean put up with it. Adapt doesn't mean dip your toe in. But adapt also doesn't mean completely replace your entire business with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Adapt simply means look at what you're doing. Look at this new tool that's out. Figure out how you can use this new tool to help you in your business, in your work, in what you're doing, and get it done faster and more efficiently.
Yeah.
And then that just becomes a normal part of your workflow.
Yeah.
and
I
then
agree.
and then and then like if anything, the dying part, the whole like of the adapt or die, the dying part is only going to be because somebody figured out how to use AI in the way that you should have before you did.
Yeah.
So don't freak out about it. Go play around with it and figure out how you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what adapt or die means.
And if you're curious on where to kind of like figure out about the latest uh, trends or things that are new with technology, there's plenty of technology YouTubers who are out there who cover the vast majority of what's new. Um, I used to be super big into the tech industry, so you can watch people like Linus Tech Tips or whatever on YouTube and figure out what the latest, and because it's important to stay up to date regardless if it's technology or not, just to kind of be aware of it for business purposes. Um, just that alone is a pretty big thing. Um, but if you're looking for technology, you can look through there. There's also social media, which be careful, don't scroll too long. But
Yeah, exactly. Don't doom scroll.
but yeah, if you guys are curious on where to find all of this information on whatever's new and whatnot, um, there's a lot of different places you can search for it. So with that being said, we want to thank you guys for listening in. Hope you guys have a good week this week. If you haven't joined the Discord or have any insights on useful technology or methods that we haven't covered today, feel free to drop them in the Discord below. And if you haven't, you can follow us also on Instagram to kind of be aware of when our next episode will be dropping. I'm the one who's kind of in charge of that at the moment. I'm the one who will be kind of posting on either on a story or whatnot, um, on what's going to be new with us. And yeah, so we want to thank you guys for listening in on our eighth episode. We're cracking in on 10, and we hope to see you guys next time. Peace out.
Take care, folks.